צהריים טובים לכולם. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Nabeel Shaath. Dr. Shaath is a special advisor for international relations to the President Mahmoud Abbas. Dr. Shaath is a General Commissioner for International Relations in Fateh and is going to convey a direct message to us, to the Herzliya Conference from President Abbas. Dr. Shaath, please, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting me to join your very important conference. And I'd like to say I am honored that President Abu Mazen, the President of the State of Palestine, the Palestinian Authority, have asked me to read to you his speech. So in effect, I will be his messenger in delivering his speech to you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are meeting today as we mark 50 years since the Israeli forces occupied the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip, which amounts to 22% of the area of historical Palestine. 50 years of an occupation that has turned into a colonial settlement project in the West Bank that systematically denies the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. This is the same area delineated by the 1967 border, which the international community as a whole considers to be illegally occupied by Israel. It is also the area that the PLO accepted in 1988 to establish the State of Palestine with East Jerusalem as its capital. This declaration marked, in fact, the first time that the PLO recognized Israel on 78% of historical Palestine in what we refer to up today as our historic and painful compromise for peace. This compromise and recognition of Israel was reaffirmed in 1993 in the Oslo Agreement, signed in Washington under the patronage of President Bill Clinton. This is where the two-state solution was born. Today, it is a solution supported by the whole world. Our recognition of Israel as a state is therefore not different from that of other states' recognition of Israel. Yet, Israel has continuously refused to reciprocate by recognizing the State of Palestine. We participated in several rounds of negotiations since we signed the Oslo Agreement with Israeli partners Yitzhak Rabin, Shimon Peres, Benjamin Netanyahu, Ehud Barak, Tzipi Livni, and Ehud Olmert. Some success was achieved in the interim status negotiations, but very little was achieved in the permanent status negotiations. All attempts failed, and the atmosphere of hope changed, particularly after the arrival of Mr. Netanyahu in the year 2009. His governments injected new preconditions and obstacles that set the peace process back. The Oslo Agreement set a deadline of 5 years to reach a permanent agreement. 24 years have passed since that signing ceremony in the White House. I was there. I was in every one of those occasions, really, I'm talking about. Instead of a lasting peace, an independent Palestinian state side by side with the State of Israel, and a resolution of all permanent status issues, we remain in the interim status. And we remain an occupied territory with our land and water seized from under our feet by successive Israeli governments. Ladies and gentlemen, since day one in the office, I'm talking in the name of President Abu Mazen, I was never in the office. Since the first day in the office, I have assumed the responsibility to continue the peace process and to lead the process of state building by adopting international standards of good governance, institution building, strengthening the rule of law and the maintenance of security, supporting the role of women, the youth, and civil society, as well as doing everything within our power to strengthen our economy. This, however, is almost an impossible goal to really achieve in the absence of sovereignty and a real permanent political solution. The impediments and hurdles our people endure from the prolonged occupation are enormous. Israel continues to control all the basic components of our lives, including the economic system and control over our imports, exports, access to natural resources such as land and water. Every time that the international community has an opportunity to move forwards a final status agreement between Israel and Palestine, the governments of Mr. Netanyahu find an excuse to avoid discussing the key issues agreed upon by Israel, the PLO, and the US leadership at the beginning of the peace process. Instead of talking about borders and the status of Jerusalem, for example, Mr. Netanyahu has introduced new pretexts which were never part of the text of the Oslo Agreement, such as recognition of Israel as a specifically Jewish state, or full Israeli military control of vast areas of the state of Palestine. The most recent pretexts include incitement and social aid provided to the families of Palestinian political prisoners. On the issue of incitement, I want to be very clear. We reiterate our call for the tripartite Israeli-Palestinian-American Committee on Incitement, i.e. revival of that committee. There, we will all be able to bring our complaints about incitement to be verified and dealt with in accordance with the agreement, including Israeli provocations and incitements, particularly from those officials who have called for executing political prisoners or collectively punishing families, or those who have referred to Palestinians as snakes and cockroaches. On social aid provided to families of Palestinian political prisoners and martyrs, 800,000 Palestinians have been detained in Israeli prisons since the occupation of 1967, and close to 1 million since 1948. 1 out of every 3 Palestinian males has spent time in an Israeli prison. Is any rational human being going to claim that these 1 million people are terrorists? That 1/3 of the Palestinians are terrorists because they have been through the Israeli jails? It's really, quite frankly, a racist rhetoric to really call all our political prisoners terrorists. The political prisoners are in effect the victim of the occupation, not the creator of that occupation. Payments to support families are a social responsibility to look after innocent people affected by the incarceration or killing of their loved ones as a result of the military occupation. And yet, despite living in a daily reality of that violence at the hands of the occupation and its settlers, we have maintained security coordination with the State of Israel and did our best to maintain civil peace and non-violence. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be... I'll take this off. That will change my personality a little bit, but I'm still reading Abu Mazen's speech. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to emphasize our belief that the role of civil society is key to the success of our region as a whole. Despite differences of opinions and perspectives that we may have between the official and non-governmental spheres, civil society organizations are a vital component of any democratic, pluralistic society. We therefore condemn campaigns to delegitimize those who call for the respect of human rights and international law. Civil society groups should be free to demand accountability, particularly on the question of colonial settlements and about the reality of Israeli occupation. These are peaceful, non-violent, legal, and legitimate actions that we have to support. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking for a better region, one where occupation and colonization are confined to the annals of history, replaced by a just and lasting peace. The Arab Peace Initiative offers recognition and full normalization between Israel and 57 countries, members of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the OIC, in exchange for ending the occupation that began in 1967, establishing a sovereign and independent state of Palestine on the 1967 border with East Jerusalem, its capital, and reaching a just and agreed solution to the Palestinian refugee issue based on the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 194. It is a generous initiative to which Israel has never officially responded. The road to normalization begins with the commitment to end the occupation and the establishment of an independent and sovereign state of Palestine, side by side with the state of Israel, and not the other way around. We call upon the Israeli government not to turn a political problem into a religious war. The narrative of the Israeli government translated into provocative actions such as conducting an Israeli cabinet meeting beneath Al-Aqsa Mosque compound only adds to resentment of the 50 years of occupation and does little to enhance peace. Let us be crystal clear. We value the importance of Judaism and we respect the Jewish religion as one of the three monotheistic religions. Our issue is definitely not with the Jewish faith, but with the Israeli occupation, its colonial settlement regime, and with the systematic denial of our rights as Palestinians, Christians, Muslims, and Samarian Jews. We know that there are many Jewish people throughout the world who reject such policies and support a two-state solution that will end occupation. And let me say this once again. The Holocaust remains the most heinous crime in modern history. It was perpetrated by Nazis and fascists, and it's condemned by our people as it is condemned around the world. We want to join in building a world that will never allow Holocausts again. Ladies and gentlemen, as we face a renewed opportunity with the support of President Trump and his administration to reach a historic Palestinian-Israeli peace, allow me to reiterate that we seek a just and lasting peace that fully ends the Israeli occupation that began in 1967 and its consequent colonial settlements. We envision two states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and security. We envision Jerusalem as an open and free city, with East Jerusalem being the sovereign capital of the state of Palestine and West Jerusalem as the capital of the state of Israel. We envision an agreement that provides a just solution to the refugee issue and provides freedom for our prisoners, a solution that guarantees security to all Palestinians and Israelis and total regional normalization. We envision a solution that grants the Palestinian people the rights they deserve under international law. We envision a solution that will grant full, equal rights to the citizens of both Israel and Palestine, regardless of their religion, gender, or national origin. President Trump has conducted important efforts. We have delivered every piece of information he has requested about our positions for a just and lasting peace, and assured him about our genuine commitment to achieving that cherished peace. We are also committed to fighting terror in our region as well as globally, and are one of the 84 signatories of the Agreement Against Terror and Violence. We reiterate our commitment as partners with the US and the rest of the international coalition on terrorism. A strong, sovereign Palestine means another ally in promoting human rights and the rule of law, and in defeating any form of extremism wherever it may occur. Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you. He does. I stand before you here in Herzliya and call upon the Israeli leaders to tell your people you cannot make peace just with tanks, planes, and nuclear weapons. Whether from a legal, political, moral, or logical perspective, you cannot make peace without ending the occupation. There can be no peace or security for anyone while one people occupy and control the lives of another. We are all human beings, and we all deserve the same rights and opportunities to live, to love, and to thrive on this holy land. On the occasion of remembering the 50 years of the occupation of our land, allow me to conclude by reiterating: enough to occupation, enough to suffering, enough to violence, enough to dispersion, enough to fear and instability. Now is the time to build a better and safer future for your and our children and grandchildren. I know it can be done. We have seen it happen at the beginning of the peace process. This is the time to put the process on the right track again. And we have all the hope and commitment to make it happen. This is the time to achieve peace, stability, and prosperity that we, our region, and the whole world will enjoy. Thank you very much.